Welcome to the underground, you rebel scum. This is the American Expat. And I know, I guess, the weekend has been a pretty crazy time over here. I've been working on a project that it was supposed to be done this morning. Actually, it was supposed to be done last night and uploaded this morning. But as things have a way of doing, it kind of bled into this morning and then into this afternoon and so on and so on. So I didn't get to do the live stream earlier in the day. I know that that's kind of probably frustrating. There's a lot of people in Europe that get on here, and it kind of helps. When I do it in the afternoon, I guess it helps because of the time difference, but I'm working on it, you know. By the way, the project that I've been working on, it's another channel that I've set up just for my other kinds of videos, not any of the political stuff, because I know there are people that enjoy that sort of thing. If you are someone who enjoys that, I guess you can mention in the comments. I can tell you how to find it. Even if you're interested in both, I'm not going to discriminate. You can join it, but it's a very different kind of thing. Back to the old ways. Anyway, so much has been happening today. It's my understanding we're on the verge of World War III again, but this time in a different region of the world. So, yeah, that's World War III sparking off all over the place. We've got a few other interesting situations. Texas, armor rolling to the border, that sort of thing. There's something tied into that that I find so despicable. Anyway, all of this stuff coming up in just a second, so stick around. Oh, man. Well, thanks for sticking with us. Before we get too far into the video, as always, I do need to encourage each of you to join in the conversation, share your comments, be it in the live chat if you're catching us live, or by leaving your comments down below. I'll take them either way. I do want to hear from you guys. I'm not an expert at anything. In fact, some people say that I'm something of an idiot, so please help me to expand my knowledge about these subjects by sharing your knowledge. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Join the revolution so you don't miss out on future videos and live streams. And don't forget that the like button lives down below this thing as well. Supposedly it helps with the algorithm. I don't really think it matters all that much, but if you do like what you hear, be sure to hit that like button. If you don't like what you hear, hit the thumbs down button. I'll take it either way. It doesn't show you how many people have hit the thumbs down button, but it shows me. But fortunately, there's not really that many people that do that anymore. So maybe I've learned to avoid certain things that anger people, or those people just went away and never came back. So in either case, let me see. I've got some notes here. So as I said, World War III is apparently on the verge of sparking off because something happened in Jordan. They said it was a drone from Iran, except it wasn't from Iran. It's from a group that's somehow associated with Iran, or it's not even really associated with Iran. There are people that donate to this group who may have connections to Iran, something along those lines. It's terrible that this happened, but Iran is saying they didn't do it. Now, I'm a little confused on that one because I thought that Iran, they hate that's the death to America people, and I kind of thought that wouldn't they claim something like that if they were responsible? I don't know. It's a weird situation. Anyway, they're saying they're not. I guess it makes sense that they'd say they're not going to if they're looking at like down the barrel of the U.S. military and Biden's like, oh, send the military. And then they're, of course, over there like, oh, my God. Okay, you know what? Hey, guys, whoa, hold on a second here. Let's talk, Something. Remember when you guys were giving us all that money? I mean, what happened to those times? So, yeah, that's going on. I've seen posts coming up on Twitter, or I guess it's X now, that are showing armor moving to the Texas border. I have something to say about that, some of the statements that are coming out of the military in relation to that absolutely are appalling. A president, this is also connected with the border. The president basically holding the country hostage, using this situation at the border in order to get things passed that he wants passed. It's absolutely crazy. People quitting YouTube. A rumor about elites wanting to take away our meat, all kinds of stuff, as I said. Let's start with this World War III situation, because I really haven't been paying attention, and I guess that, at any given moment, World War III is threatening to spark off over there in the Middle East, I guess, all the time. I didn't realize that, I just figured, the United States is always at war there. If World War III was going to come out of the Middle East, I would think that it would have come a long time ago. But apparently, Iran is the key to this. So if the United States goes to war with Iran, somehow, and I'm not really clear on this, maybe somebody watching this will know more than I do, somehow this will set off like a chain of events, a cascading failure of some kind that leads to World War III, where everybody's suddenly at war. That sounds kind of like the World War I situation to me. I'm not fully understanding it. Maybe there's a connection with China and Russia in there somewhere where they're like absolutely bound by some oath that they must come in and defend Iran no matter what. I don't think that China would come in to defend them, to be honest, if it really came down to it. I think that, the Russians are probably finding that out, that maybe China is not one that you can, really put your faith in that way. They're going to look out for China first. And I really honestly don't think that they're interested in going to war with the United States. Russia should really look into its history with China and how that's worked out. And I'm talking recent history. That those alliances with China don't tend to last. But anyway, it's a weird thing. So I guess that somehow Iran and the situation is potentially... Now, I personally look at it and I think, wow, how convenient. There's a situation happening on the border in Texas. And suddenly, oh, man, we've got to start attacking Iran. It might be World War III. So, I've got people on the internet talking about drafts. They're going to get drafted. I'm not going to get drafted. I'm going to move to such and such place. It's like, wow, what's wrong with this place? But anyway, there's all kinds of uproar on the internet and people afraid and people saying it's going to be war. I don't think that it will be. These people in our military are far too calculating. They know what they're doing. They can give just enough to give the politicians cover so that they don't end up with World War III. But maybe some of the attention that's been focused on Eagle Pass in Texas can be diverted away, since Biden's in sort of an unwinnable situation. Now, I've seen these posts about armor, as in, like tanks and stuff, being sent into Texas. And this is the part that I find so shameful. Now, normally, like the United States military, they'll go out and they'll be doing like a naval exercise somewhere with another country, and it happens to be somewhere in the vicinity of like North Korea or someone like that, or Russia, or somewhere in the Persian Gulf, and then, they release a statement like, this is a previously scheduled, exercise. It's not in response to anything that's happening over here, even though it happens, all the time whenever there's tension. I guess there's just tension there all the time. So whenever they do one of these exercises or drills, then it stirs up all kinds of trouble. But it was always somewhere outside of the United States, right? So they send the stuff in and they're like, look, this was scheduled a long time ago. This missile test was scheduled long in advance before the troubles came. But it was outside of the United States. This time, they send in the stuff for their exercise, and they have to release a statement because they're worried it's going to stir up people within the United States because of this tension that has been building, I guess, in Texas and with a lot of the states out there that have been affected. Every state has been affected by the situation on the border. It's absolutely insane that this has continued to happen, and that the Biden administration would actually fight in court to be able to continue to break the law. But that I found that just terrible to hear that they were releasing that statement for something in the United States. It means that they look at people here in the United States, regular old working people like you and me. We have a lot of people on here that watch this very show, and I watch theirs who happen to be from Texas. And, we're all just regular people trying to get by, but they look at you and they see you and me as some kind of a threat. So they have to try and pacify us by saying that, hey, guys, we don't want you to just start, attacking everybody, because I guess that's what they think that people will do. This is just a regularly scheduled exercise. We're not moving armor in there because we're about to fight the Civil War. It's terrible that the Biden administration has put us in this position. I think that Joe Biden is probably going to go down in history. I mean, let's hope that the United States has a very long history from now. But I get the feeling that he's going to go down in history as the absolute worst president that we have ever had, the non-president, for this sort of thing. It's crazy that we're in this position, that there are so many people that actually look at this and see there is the possibility of an armed conflict between some of the states and the federal government. And the why the conflict? I mean, before it was because of, the slave stuff and all of that. Now, a lot of people in the South would probably argue and say that it was state rights. In this case, it's because the state of Texas just wants the federal government to do its job and, manage the border properly and not tear down the walls and the infrastructure that have been built and put up there to protect the border. And it's just crazy. And it just gets worse from there. Like I said, the president has been all over the place saying, basically, hey, we'll shut down the border. Sure, we'll go do our job that we're required to do by law if you go along with our bills that we want to get passed or our budget that we want to get through. If you guys go ahead and, approve this money for Ukraine or whatever it happens to be, then we'll come in and we'll protect you. It's absolutely crazy. Doesn't that seem criminal to anybody? I mean, to me, I hear that and it just sounds like, the guy shows up at your little shop and says, hey, I'd love to make sure, or I guess it would be a cop in that case, because they're actually supposed to be protecting you. So the cop shows up at your place and he's like, hey, I'd love to keep your place safe from those criminals that have been coming around here. But you're going to have to make it worth my while. That seems to be what we're seeing from the federal government right now. It's criminal behavior. I guess you can't expect anything less from Joe Biden. I don't know. Over the last little bit, there's been so much revealed about him and his family that I guess it shouldn't come as any sort of surprise. They would use every situation to their benefit, which makes me wonder why they were doing it in the first place. Why were they opening the border up like they were? I've heard a crazy theory going around on the internet that at first I was like, oh, that's absolutely outrageous. But then I started to think about it and I thought, oh man, if there really was, let's say we go into Strange World, which I guess we're already living in Strange World, and somehow a conflict actually sparks off between the federal government and several of the states over there in Texas. And, Joe Biden, he sends the military in, he sends all his people in, and they just desert en masse to join the Texans because they know that, hey, these guys are actually trying to look out for the interests of the American people, and the federal government is actually actively working against the best interests of the country. So what would he do? And then people have suggested, well, he's brought in millions and millions of these, I guess, military age people are saying they're fighting age young men and people into the country who have no real clear path to being able to stay here legally. Some people have suggested that he could even go to these people and offer them citizenship, a path to citizenship, something like that. Like, hey, you go fight for us and you get to stay. I don't know if I believe that they would do that, really. It just seems a little bit too far of a stretch for me, but I'd be curious what everybody else has to say about that. If you think that that Joe Biden would actually do that, I guess I shouldn't put anything past the man. But let me know what you think. Do you think that he would take the illegal people that have come across the border, the millions and millions of people that he has allowed across the border, would he take them and maybe allow them to enlist into the military to build up his ranks in some sort of a conflict with the states? Yeah, just let me know what you think, of course, there in the live stream or wherever you happen to be watching. I personally, I have my doubts. I guess that he has a lot of people in camps. It's just, it would be really hard to reach people. I know that they have a tendency not to trust the government when they come out and say like, hey, come in here and you can have, they're usually like, no, that's what happens. And then you get deported. Right. But who knows? He's got a bunch of people in camps. I guess you just never know. He could. I guess I shouldn't put it past him. Like I said, anything could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to get all of these people together and build up their ranks. Now, then again, they could be looking to do the same thing, but not against the states. They might be looking at their recruiting situation where they can't seem to get anyone into the military. Gee, I wonder why. And end up filling it up that way. And then we end up with a bunch of people I guess, you know what, if they're willing to fight for the country, I don't know. Yeah, that's another thing. Let me know what you think about that. Do you think that if somebody came into the country illegally, should they be offered citizenship if they agree to fight in the military for this country? Do you think that is good enough reason to say, you know what, you came in illegally, we have no idea about who you really are or your background, but you were willing to put your life on the line for liberty, so you get to be a citizen now. Do you think that is the right thing to do? That is or is that absolutely wrong, and we should be able to fight our wars on our own? I don't know. It seems like the Romans did something like that. They had trouble filling their ranks, so they went to the barbarian tribes, and it didn't work out very well for them in the end. They ended up training the people that overthrew them. You wouldn't. No, that wouldn't happen to us. I mean, we're invincible in our tiny existence here as a nation. Well, there's no way. I better not. I don't want to jinx us or anything, but yeah, it's absolutely crazy what's happening. Let me see. Yes, the YouTubers quitting. This has continued to show up on my my YouTube, whatever you call it, the homepage or whatever. Every time I get on there, I've only watched a couple of them, but every time I do, it comes down to the same thing. Like, they were on there and they noticed a huge dip in the amount of money that was coming in, and it shocked them, and they don't want to do it anymore. That's what it really came down to. I was wondering with some, they're like, nah, I'm just bored with this and I'm not enjoying it anymore. And then another person gets on and says, exactly what it is. Like, I was on here, I was, working really hard, it was going really well, it was stressful, and then over the last year, it just continues to have these massive drop-offs in the amount of money that comes in from the ad revenue, and yeah, it's not worth the stress anymore, so I'm not going to do it. And that really was eye-opening. So if you're seeing this trend as well, about the people leaving YouTube, think about that one, and do you think that it has to do with the money, and what does that mean about YouTube and Google? There must be some serious problems over there when it comes to ad money, and yeah, it must be getting really bad, and that's only going to exacerbate the issue. Let me see what we've got here. I see some comments coming in here. Ungrateful Peasant, I believe this is in response to the illegals being granted citizenship for military service. Ungrateful Peasant, who is a veteran, and I would, give a lot of credence to his opinion as because of that, says absolutely not. Let's see, Andy Foxy, Senator Dick Durbin suggested that the illegals sign up for the armed forces. Yeah, we don't know who these people are, but let's give them access to guns and all that stuff and train them up real well. Yeah, I feel like that's a bad idea. Ungrateful Peasant, they could have joined the military and received a fast track to citizenship after 2 years of good conduct, but they didn't do that. Yeah, well, I mean, these people have just come in just now, It's a mess. And now we have senators apparently talking about, hey, let's just sign them up. We'll just sign them up. That'll fill up the ranks. That sounds so terrible. That you have people that have no appreciation whatsoever for what the country is and what it stands for. I guess that's kind of a reflection of the people in charge right now. They have no appreciation or respect for what the country stands for, and that's the problem. A lot of the arguments that I've brought up on previous live streams, when I've talked about people on the internet, they're like, start arguing with you about the Constitution and like, well, you know, if the court rules that they can't be at the border anymore, then they have to stand down, and the Constitution and all this stuff. And it's like, well, you know, Joe Biden just spent the last few years basically making the Constitution nothing but toilet paper, and there are consequences to something like that. Once people see that the rule of law doesn't exist, they're going to stop following it. They're going to stop respecting it. If you don't have respect for the law as the person who's supposed to be enforcing it, then pretty soon nobody's going to have respect for the law. And that's when things can go really, really bad. And, you know, it leads to situations like the Texas border, where they're like, I don't have any confidence that you're going to uphold the law, and I don't care what the court says. I know I'm in the right, and I'm going to protect myself. You know, if the police, for example, aren't going to be coming around to protect you, then you've got to take matters into your own hands, and things can go wrong. And it's not, that's just the way that it is. It's too bad. If the government isn't going to do its part, then you can't be expected to just sit there and, you know, basically get, or let whatever happen to you. Absolutely not. Let's see. Nunya, Texas on the back 20. Brilliant. I wonder what I said that was. There's a little bit of a delay, just so you guys know. So when I see comments coming in here, whatever it was that I said is probably long past, and I'm not entirely sure what I said. Maybe it was somebody else that it was probably something that Ungrateful Peasant said. Let's see. Most of those people are just here for free stuff. The NGOs have been spreading the word for the last 5 years and have streamlined bringing them in. You know, that is really bizarre how that has worked out. I know the story kind of got buried, but a little while ago, I remember hearing the story about these veterans. They were homeless veterans that were, you know, being put up in these hotels in different places, and they got the boot so that the hotel or whatever can make room for migrants because they pay more. Because the state or the city or whatever it happens to be pays more money for the migrants to stay there than they can get from these veterans who are relying on these, you know, programs or people that are out there trying to help them out. And it's like a punch in the gut to hear that. And now, you know, they're putting them in schools, they're putting them in airports. Can you imagine how that makes the country look? Boston, the airport in Boston apparently is housing a lot of illegals, which is why would you go to Boston? I mean, it gets really, really cold in the winter. The weather is terrible at times. I mean, it's sure in the spring and whatever, it's a beautiful, beautiful city. It's a really, really nice city, but it just doesn't seem like the place to go. I mean, if I was going to be honest with you, I can't imagine why any of the migrants would want to leave Texas. Yeah, sure, they're being bussed off to different places, but Texas is where it's at right now. But, yeah, Boston, but they've got them in the Boston airport. Can you imagine what that looks like? So people come into our country, you know, and the first thing they're going to see is the airport. So they fly into Boston, this legendary city, this really, really nice, expensive city, and there's a bunch of homeless people sleeping on the floor. It just, what are we doing to ourselves, you know? It'd be like my experience the last time coming through Dulles. I remember flying in and out of Dulles years and years ago, and, you know, that was kind of my gateway, I guess, to the rest of the world at the time, and I remember thinking it was pretty nice. Well, this last time I went through, wow, you know, not a very good example of the United States for somebody to see on their first, like, this is America. You come out and it's like, whoa, you know. This looks like they haven't maintained it since the 70s, and there's weird homeless people everywhere. It's terrible. Now, I guess if they were to fly into the other D.C. airport, they'd have a different experience, but they don't fly into that one. They fly into Dulles and have that experience. It's, yeah, it's unfortunate. But, yeah, just imagine that, you know. It does affect the image of the country. I guess as a country, we don't often think of things that way. Other countries do. Like if you go to China, you know, they really worry about the image of the country. So they try to make this stuff look nice. You fly into the airports, they're always trying to make it look really, really nice. I don't know how nice it actually is, but at least they try, and it looks nice, you know. In America, we seem to be doing the opposite. We're doing everything we can to make it look like garbage, so that when people come in, they're like, whoa, oh man, America, this isn't exactly what I thought. But maybe that's the way, you know, if only I could say it's because we're so focused on doing awesome things that's why. But unfortunately, the country doesn't seem to be doing a lot of awesome things right now. We need to get back to that, doing awesome things, you know, monster trucks and, you know, big buildings and such. But we don't seem to be doing a lot of that right now. We need to get back to that. Let's see. I see more comments coming in. Ungrateful Peasant. Even if they all are good people, they still came in illegally. We don't have the infrastructure. We can't vet them, etc. You know, that's the thing. Sure, there's good people coming across, but we don't know that. We don't know. We have no way of knowing. I'm sure everybody that gets interviewed by the government, I'm sure they're going to say, like, I'm a good person. You know, is that the way that we do these things at the border when they're rapidly processing people? Are you a good person? Yes, I'm a good person. We have no way of knowing. If you don't have any sort of documentation, if you don't have anything, then we have no way of knowing who you are or what your background is, and therefore we can't let them just come in. It doesn't matter if they say they're a good person. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but we don't have any way of verifying that. They have to come in. They have to come in legally, so that we can make sure. And even then, you get it wrong sometimes. Let's see. Many of them are criminals, and many of them are illiterate in their own language. You know, that's something that a lot of people don't seem to recognize. If you're on the run from the law in your home country, I guess you can just come across, I shouldn't give anybody any ideas, but apparently you can just come across the border in the United States, and then you can just build a whole new, person out of yourself. Get yourself a new ID, new name, new everything. And start all over right here in the United States and build a whole new criminal empire. Let's see, Nunya, Texas on the back 20. Too many have already, the legal ones don't like them. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine how it would feel? If for those of you who don't know, the process of actually coming here legally, let's say you've got a brother or a sister or something like that in the United States, and you're like, you know, I'd really like to go. I'm going to apply to come to the United States legally. That can be up to 10 years. That can take up to 10 years for that to process. And, you know, then you have these people just coming in, being given thousands of dollars, put up in hotels, given free money to go buy stuff. What a joke. Can you imagine how you would feel if you went through that whole process? Like, I'm an idiot. I should have just come illegally. Then they would have given me all this thousands of dollars and put me in a hotel and all this stuff. It's ridiculous. I'm sure that anyone who's come here legally has a lot of resentment toward people who have just jumped over the border like that. It's absolutely crazy that this country would do that. I can't think of another country anywhere. Europe. I guess I'm wrong. Europe is full of countries that just let people come across the border without any sort of stopping of them. But that's turning out really, really bad. If you look over there, the people are starting to wake up to it. Like, oh my gosh, you know, the French are almost, they're a minority in France now. What do we do? You know, but you can't say that. What am I saying? You can't say that. Let's see. I don't like any of them. Too many military-age men from places that hate us. It's obvious that it is an invasion. Yeah, but you know, it's kind of like that situation with Iran, where the drone flies over and blows up the soldiers, and then they're like, well, you know, it wasn't us because it was actually this group that's funded by someone who's associated with us, kind of. You know, here we have these columns of thousands and thousands of military-age young people marching toward the border, and in columns, waving flags and shouting slogans and stuff, and we can't call that an invasion, even though it's organized. I think that we should get to the bottom of this. Of course, our country is such a basket case that they never will. They should be looking at that. Okay, this is organized. Someone is funding it and bringing these people to our border, invading our country. Whether these people in these columns realize they're part of an invasion or not, someone is putting this together, and it is an invasion. And like I said, if our country wasn't such a basket case, maybe we could get to the bottom of that and figure out, okay, who's responsible for this? Clearly, they're an enemy that has to be dealt with. Unfortunately, I think that the enemy is within in many cases. They're part of it. Let's see, an invasion, most certainly. Yeah, absolutely, Andy Foxy. Mutant Riff, I'm a citizen of the land of the free, but I can't. Yeah, well, we're still on here. We're still talking. They haven't shut this down. I guess we're careful, aren't we? There are still certain. Who knows? I wonder what it is on YouTube now that you can't say what you can and you cannot say. I don't know if the COVID stuff is still an issue. I heard that information just came out recently. Speaking of the restrictions that YouTube at one time had, of the people in our government warning and saying like, hey, you can't release the vaccines without warning people about myocarditis. And, they knew, I guess, that there was some possibility of that side effect. Oh, you know what? I better, never mind. I'm going to get myself into trouble. I don't know what'll happen, what I can talk about. But anyway, that was in there. That came out recently. Just absolutely crazy. Let's see. Where was I? Nunya, Texas on the back 20. My wife, French, 10 years, $40,000. Yeah, France. It was a beautiful country. I guess it still is. There's some amazing places over there. It's really sad when I look around. They have all these beautiful buildings in these cities, and I think to myself, I see these, like communist banners. They've got the sickle and hammer. They've got all these people from all over the place that are just throwing garbage everywhere. And I think, how long is it going to be before these beautiful buildings that have been here for hundreds and hundreds of years crumble to the ground because there's nobody who appreciates what they are, what they represent, and they wouldn't even know how to fix them even if they did, because nobody knows or cares anymore. They're too busy marching in the street, throwing their fist in the air and pasting sickle and hammer, posters to pillars in different places. It's really sad to see what's happening in Europe. It's being destroyed. And I can't understand why the people in charge of those countries are willing to go along with this. It's like they really must hate their own country. They must hate their histories. They must hate all of it. And, the French, at least they can't say they were the Nazis or something. So it's not like there's that much history to hate. I don't understand why they would do that to themselves. But that's exactly what they're doing. I guess there are lots of theories that float around the internet about those subjects. I'm not as familiar with them, so I can't comment too much. Let's see. Ungrateful Peasant, the invasion rate is higher than the birth rate. Most of these people are going to have 3 or 4 kids. And probably more than that. They have a tendency to have more children than the people that live in the country now have. Our birth rate is, dwindling and at an alarming rate. But it's not just us. Apparently the same thing is happening in China. Their population's dropping like crazy. I don't know what happened over there. Maybe it's all the diabetes from people eating all the rice. I don't know. I shouldn't laugh about that. That's a big problem over there. People being diabetic. They don't eat a lot of sweet stuff. But apparently somehow I don't know if it's connected to rice. Maybe it's Baijiu, the horrible alcohol that they drink. Let's see. Other reasons, not research. Yeah. Ah, man. I try to avoid the news these days. But then something pops up, it's like I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to focus on, I'm going to do photography, or I'm going to do, this or that. And I'm not going to think about news and politics. And then I'll be going along and, the phone always seems to find a way to send something. It's like I don't follow any of that on Twitter anymore, but it still sends it to me anyway, because I guess Twitter is so messed up. I created a new Twitter account and purposely only followed things that had to do with photography and, film and that sort of thing, or maybe, like programming. And it still sends me the same stuff. even though I don't follow any of it. It's like, here's a tweet from Joe Biden. It's like, well, I definitely don't follow that. But here it is. Here's this horrible thing happening in the news from the New York Times. It's like, oh my gosh, I purposely didn't follow any news outlets of any kind. And then it got even more bizarre from there. I got on and it said I was following 50 different people. I get on there and there's all these news outlets. I'm like, what? I made it a point not to follow any of that stuff. How in the world did it just automatically made me follow them? So that was bizarre. Yeah, I got rid of all of that. But I learned that it doesn't matter what you follow on Twitter. It's going to send you what it's going to send you. And so I just avoid the app for the most part. But every now and again, somehow it gets past my defenses and I end up seeing some kind of news thing like it's World War III and, there's civil war happening or something like that. And, then it ruins my whole day. So, yeah, I try to avoid that. Speaking of things that are happening on the internet, did you guys hear about Mark Cuban? I've heard about it a couple of times on podcasts and different things. I guess he got into some kind of a feud over the diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff, and now he's really stepped in it because there's a part, what is it, the EEOC or something like that. Anyone who's involved with employees is probably familiar with this. If there's a problem, a dispute of some kind, where somebody says that they were targeted for harassment or something, you're going to have to deal with these people. Anyway, he's on there saying I make these decisions all the time based on race and gender when it comes to hiring and that sort of thing and staff. And the person in charge was like, hey, that's absolutely wrong. And it's like, you just stepped. How did this guy? I don't know Mark Cuban. Obviously, he's a billionaire. So at some point at least, he must have been smart enough to be able to get billions and billions of dollars, whatever he did. He owns some sports teams. And how did he go from being smart like that to being a complete and total idiot when it comes to this? I mean, I can't think of a dumber thing to say. Doesn't he have people around him that warn him hey, don't say that, don't get on there and say that because you're going to be legally, you're going to be liable. You're going to be sued into oblivion if you say that. I guess he doesn't. Or maybe, he just got so angry with the ongoing debate that he just didn't care and said it anyway. And now he's opened himself up for all kinds of lawsuits, I guess, by people that may or may not have been fired or maybe not given a job because of their race or their gender. I don't know how people don't see that when they talk about that stuff. If you're making decisions based on race, whether you think that it's beneficial or not, it's not. It is definitely not. It is racist. So the very people that are saying the white guilt stuff, no wonder they're saying it. They are racists. I mean, this is ridiculous. So, I think it was Tim Pool who was talking about it. He's saying, if you're looking at your staff and saying, there's not a person of such and such race on the team, I'm going to have to go find someone. That means you don't believe that they can stand on their own 2 feet. You have to go and save them. You have to go find someone and bring them up to your level. It's it's ridiculous, I'd be curious how people feel about that, It'd feel insulting to me if somebody said something like, well, we recognize that you're incapable of doing anything on your own, but as the superior group, we're going to reach out and lift you up to our level and give you these benefits because I'd be like, wow, I think you just insulted me. I think that were you intending to insult me? And, oh, well, we're so awesome here, the Mark Cuban, that, we can understand that you're incapable of reaching these lofty heights on your own. But we are here with the diversity, equity, inclusion to make sure that you can have some of the benefits that you're incapable of achieving on your own. Yeah, absolutely crazy. He didn't even go into the oppression stuff. He just basically came out and said it that way. So, yeah, absolutely stupid move on his part. I don't know how, like I said, somebody gets to that level and they could still make him. I guess people make mistakes. What am I saying? Let's see. Mutant Rift. They might have found Amelia Earhart's plane. You know, I've heard about that off and on. I know there was somebody that had found what they thought might be her plane on an island. This would have been years ago, but I never saw any further into it. So that's interesting. I know it comes up every now and again, and that'd be really cool if they did. That'd be a mystery solved. I guess it doesn't solve it. Maybe she did get sucked into a black hole or something. Isn't that what Don Lemon said about that plane that disappeared? Maybe it got sucked into a black hole. That's CNN reporting for you. Let's see. Oh yes, the elites, the elites and super elites are at it again. I've heard more and more word about what their plans are for all of us plebeians here at the bottom of society. That they have some plans. Let me see what I wrote down. Some of the stuff here. Yes, they want to, I guess, ration meat, and they want to make sure that you don't have freedom of movement anymore, so that you don't go polluting their world or using up their resources, because those should be held in reserve for more deserving classes of people. And I was looking at that and wondering, like, how do you determine what the different strata are, I guess, in that sort of a society? How do you decide who deserves to have the meat, who deserves to travel, and who does not? Who has to stay in these 15-minute cities? And it turns out the keys of the kingdom that they are trying to establish are all about education. It's all determined on your education level. So, and apparently that's how they have already kind of divided it up. That's where the super elites are people that have like a master's degree or, a doctorate or something like that. Now, don't go patting yourself on the back if you happen to have one of these degrees. You still don't qualify as super elite. You have to have a degree like that and have gone to an Ivy League university. That is what gives you the rank of super elite in this new crazy society. And I guess elites. And it also has to do with your income. So you have to be above a certain income, but also have that's the main thing, is your education is what determines your position in society. So if you make more than $150,000 a year and have a postgraduate degree of some kind from any university, then you are an elite. Then you are at that level. You're still not at the top. You're not a super elite, but at least you have some place in this kind of society that they're setting up. And then there's the rest of us. And I don't think that they have a word for us except uselessly. You know what? They're Nazis. Let's. I look at that and I think, wow, these people are so arrogant that they would think that they are superior to people. In the very sentence when they're saying like, there are people that just don't have a chance. They don't really believe that. They don't believe that you deserve a chance. So that's why they're, I guess, in such support of abortion for people in poverty-stricken circumstances, because those people don't, it's not that they are going to have a bad life or this and that, or there's not enough money. It's that they don't deserve a chance because they're not part of that. They will never amount to anything in their mind because they are inferior. And so they don't deserve a chance. And this is how they're setting it up. Apparently, I heard Glenn Beck say it. I sometimes get clips of him, too, showing up on the internet. But he's saying this stuff, and it's very alarming to hear. This is so un-American and so against everything that we believe, or we should believe as Americans, that this has to be removed from the world, I think. We have to make a big push, at least in this country, at the very least in this country, to say, that no, that's not how things are determined. And whatever place you come from in this world, whatever part of society, you do deserve the opportunity. And you have, everything that you need to be able to succeed if you want to, if you're determined. And no amount of oppression will stop you if you are determined enough. And we need to send that message to the world again. Somehow that's been lost. I thought that was the message of the United States, that you can succeed, that if you work hard enough, you can carve out a nice little piece of this existence for yourself here. And that gave hope to the world. Well, we need to do that again, but I guess we have to start by getting the people that are in the government out of the government come the election time. I'm talking about the election. I'm not calling for insurrection or anything. Let's see. Mutant Riff, when will... wait, I'm missing some things. Interesting about the plane. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I've missed more than that. Let's see. They are saying humans have no rights now. Yeah, that's... boy, I missed a lot of comments. What happened? It must have jumped. Let's see. The plane appears intact. Oh, yeah, okay, so it is similar to what I saw, the images that they had. They had like an outline of the plane. They're saying humans have no rights now. Yeah, whatever happened to human rights, I thought that that was something that was important to the world. I guess that human rights don't matter now. Well, okay, if you're not part of those groups. The elites have some rights, and the super elites have all rights, and the rest of us, I guess, are just going to be serfs. Let's see. The entire world's population could fit in San Bernardino County, California, where each person gets about 70 square feet. It's remarkable, isn't it? They like to throw out there that the world it's not able to support the population, but it's not true. Technology has changed a lot of things. We're able to grow more food nowadays. There's no reason to be concerned with those kinds of resources dwindling or disappearing. And even if you want to get into the climate change stuff, if you believe that the world is warming up, it will actually result in higher crop yields. I don't know. I guess they don't tell people about that part. They just make them go insane, that they think that the world is going to end. Never listen to anyone that's telling you the world is going to end. Don't listen to them. I mean, there's always some reason behind it. There's always some angle like, oh my gosh, the world is going to end, so you need to buy my stuff. In this case, oh man, the world is coming to an end, buy my solar panels. That seems to be the truth behind it. Oh, the world's ending, so you need to buy my windmill farm thing. That's really what it comes down to. It's just somebody scamming everybody. They don't really care about the world or climate change or any of that. Just buy solar panels. That's the solution, I guess, that they have. Let's see. When will they put the red dots on our foreheads? Yeah. Well, there are some people that do that. I don't know. What's the red? I'm not sure what the reference is there. Let's see. Ungrateful Peasant. Liberals always see themselves as leaders, but none of them have ever gotten their hands dirty and built or let anything from the ground up. It kind of reminds me, if you get on the internet, I'm sure you guys have heard of McDojo and some of those things where they have like the fake martial arts guys. It's kind of like that. You always see this guy. It looks like somebody that's never actually done martial arts or any sort of thing, but they still want to look or be cool in that way. Like, I could never actually be a champion in karate, so I'm going to make up, this fake martial arts, and then I can be like the 10th level black belt or whatever master teacher and, knock people out with dim mock or something. That's kind of what it reminds me of. You have people that have no idea about how the world actually works, going in there and making up a bunch of stuff and pretending to be a leader, like I'm, kind of like, what's his name? John Kerry? I guess he's retired now. He's stepped down, so I can't really knock on him anymore. But, yeah, that's kind of what it reminds me of. They're the slap fist guys of the world, of world leadership. They're going in there, just making it up. Oh, the climate change. I know all about the internet. I invented the internet. And what I'm really hearing when I see these people talking is, like the guy that goes like dong and knocks people out with sound. That's what it is. Or the guy slapping, I'm a ninja. You can send in to get my ninja book and learn to be a ninja. And yeah, that's what it is. That's all that we're looking at here. Let's see. Corsair trainers, there are Japanese records of finding her and she died in captivity, if I remember right. Well, that would be unfortunate if that's the fate that she suffered. I hope not. But well, maybe no, the Japanese weren't very good to prisoners, so I hope that wasn't the case. Let's see. The Detroit guy is the worst. Yeah. Oh, man. I just, like I said, Mutant Riff, we should all stop identifying as a human and identify as a church. Stop paying taxes. But yeah, there you go. I wonder if that works for the McDojo guys, too. If you can get enough people following you, I guess you don't have to pay taxes either. That sort of thing. I don't know. I understand why churches don't pay taxes or whatever. I understand the nonprofit organizations and that sort of thing, but yeah, these so-called super elites. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I hate that. It almost makes me. I don't know. I feel like, well, that just needs to be put to a stop. I can't imagine the arrogance that people have to look at billions and billions of people and to think that somehow they are better than all of those people. That out of those billions of people, they're just somehow superior, and it's all because they think they have this degree or whatever, or they have connections with such and such people. Well, I just feel like that's terrible, that the people that are supposed to be our leaders are standing over us, looking down on us in that way. Hopefully that can change. I'm hoping. My wife has mentioned Donald Trump a few times to me, and I tell her, well, we can hope that somehow he gets through and wins the election. I know there are people probably that watch this that don't like Donald Trump, but the more I look at this, the more I realize, there's nobody else. You can't trust anybody at this point. They're all snakes. I think that what's her name, Nikki Haley, was originally one of Trump's people. And supposedly the Tea Party, I remember a while ago I was asking, like, hey, what happened to the Tea Party? Apparently she was part of the Tea Party. And that's just how it is. When you have these situations, anytime that there's power or access to power, these people will come out of the woodwork and latch onto it, whatever they think is going to be able to get them influence or power. And I guess that she's part of that, or people that are influencing her are. There are plenty of others that are like that. Look what happened with Ron DeSantis, his implosion. I guess he eventually dropped out and endorsed Donald Trump, but it's just, the world of power and politics is just full of these kinds of things. And anybody that comes along and says they're going to do it, I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. I'm afraid they're going to get in there and it's going to be business as usual. And we need it to stop. And they seem to be very afraid of Donald Trump. And for that reason, I feel like, yeah, that's my guy. The person that they don't want, that's the one. That's the one that I want to go in there and hopefully disrupt all of their plans. Whatever it is that they've got going. When he was in power, things were a lot better. People like to think that, like, in China, people must have really hated Donald Trump, right? Because of the stuff that was going on with the trade stuff. You'd be shocked. People over there had a lot of respect for Donald Trump. They liked Donald Trump, and he was kind of like the enemy, They certainly don't have any respect for Joe Biden or anyone in our government right now. And I don't think that they would have any respect for someone like Nikki Haley or Mitt Romney or any of those people. And I think it would be nice to go back to being respected. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not, there's a lot of Canadians on Twitter that say, if Donald Trump wins, it's like, well, you know what? You better hope and pray that Donald Trump does win and we can fix things in the world, because it was a lot better when he was in that office. And the same for all the people in Europe. If anybody's out there saying like, oh, Donald Trump is the worst scum of the universe, it's like, you better hope and pray that he gets in there, because when he was there, Russia wasn't attacking and wasn't a threat. None of this stuff was happening. I think it'd be nice to go back to that. Hopefully we can go back to that. Let me see. The more I learn, the more I realize I don't know very much. Yeah, that's kind of the way the world works. I'm I'm always finding out that I don't know things. That's why I always tell people to comment, because I know absolutely nothing. Well, I know some stuff, you know. I know how to use the camera, kind of. I have a lot to learn about that. But, yeah, there's always something to be learned, and I will only learn what you guys know if you share it in the comments. And don't be afraid to share it. I'm not stealing your knowledge or anything. Just help me to get on the right path, like I said. Let's see. I have been talking. How long have I been talking here? It's, wow, almost an hour. Normally I go for 30 minutes, but I guess we've had a lot to talk about here tonight. I'm going to have to make sure that I have notes. I mean, gosh, it really helps if you have notes about what you'd like to talk about. Let's see if I missed anything. Yeah, oh, that's right. We briefly mentioned it, the YouTube situation. There's all these big YouTubers that have been quitting the platform and retiring, or just saying, like, I'm not going to make, the scheduled videos anymore. I'm just going to make whatever. And as I mentioned, I finally figured it out. Somebody came out and said what the real problem is. It's like, hey, I'm on this terrible schedule. I'm posting videos all the time. It's like consuming my life, which, work has a tendency to do. And when you get to that level, I guess that's work. So yeah, it's quite stressful running a business. So they're doing that, and it's completely dependent on YouTube and Google to sell advertisements. So they're cranking out the same amount of work, and all of a sudden the money gets cut to like a third of what it was. And they're still doing all the work, but they're getting a third of the money, and I'm sure that would be very disappointing. It's like, wow, I'm working harder than ever, and I'm getting, paid almost nothing. I don't feel like I want to do this anymore. I don't want to carry this platform. If I'm going to be putting out these videos, the ones that are drawing in all the advertisements in the first place, then what am I doing? I'm throwing my life away. I made enough money. I'm done. I'm not going to continue to do it. And at first I looked at it and thought, hey, this appears to be an opportunity for anyone who's looking to come up. But I think that it's going to spell further trouble, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, further trouble for the platform, because the people who draw in the advertisements are these giant channels that have millions of subscribers, millions of views, and if they stop producing content, then there's not going to be anything for YouTube to go out and try and sell advertisements with. They're not going to be able to say, well, Mr. Beast is still on there, but whoever the people are that quit, like, what was it, the Game Theory guy? So they quit, and maybe before their ad rep guys would go out and they'd be like, hey, we've got this Game Theory guy on here. We've got the Mr. Beast and whatever. And pretty soon it's just going to be Mr. Beast. And that'll be it. They're going to have a one-trick pony here. And it's going to be pretty hard to sell ads. So it's going to actually add to it. I understand the drop in revenue is a result of, I guess, people not buying ads. Companies, supposedly the economy is doing better than ever under Bidenomics, but advertisements are not being sold, and so revenue is down. Now, fortunately for me, I don't make any money anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. But for somebody who's making, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or at least, $20,000, $50,000 in a month from the ad revenue, and suddenly it's like $10,000, well, you probably notice that pretty quick. But like I said, they're going to leave, and then it's going to make things worse. So then there'll be fewer things to sell ads with, and it'll drop even more and more. And I honestly don't know how YouTube will continue to operate. I don't know how long Google is going to continue to subsidize them if they're not selling advertisements. And, a lot of people have looked at Rumble and some of these other platforms and said, these are competitors, alternatives. It might just be from this collapse in advertisement sales that leads to these other platforms having a great boon of success, because YouTube will stop functioning properly. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, because it's a great way for people, regular people, to get their voice out there. But hey, if one of the other platforms steps up and fills in the gap. I don't know. I guess YouTube doesn't like people talking about that, but just my thoughts. Anyway, we have been talking for over an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure, again, that you hit that like button. It lives under the video. Comment and let us know what your thoughts are on what we've discussed here. Subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. Join the revolution. And I guess I will see you guys in